have 3 sons.
3 sons.
My 3 sons. Everybody was always saying, when are you going to have a girl? And I would always say, we're going to have 3 girls when they get married. 2011.
Oh,
3
really?
of them.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
And so now I have 3 grandchildren as well.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
And my oldest son, Murray, looks exactly like me. Spitting image.
Really?
Same
This
personality,
Okay.
everything. Our second son looks like my wife. Same kind of personality also. And our third son, we're not exactly sure what happened. No, he's a great young man. He's an accountant at CPA. Our middle son is an entrepreneur, mergers and acquisitions, and owns all kinds of businesses. And our first son is an engineer.
Oh, wonderful.
Did you raise them like you were raised, with reading and not television and that kind of thing?
Yes, and it paid off in all of their cases. These days, if you can raise children who are independent and self-sufficient and doing well in the world and raising their own children, that's a great victory. Well, both my wife and I grew up poor, and it's tempting to spoil your children. They never want for anything. But we knew the consequences of that kind of lifestyle. We'd seen, some of the children of friends who were very wealthy and what had happened to them. It was not a pretty picture. So we put hardships in our kids' lives to make sure that they knew how to overcome and how to fend for themselves.
What kind of hardships, if you don't mind?
Well, never giving them anything, always making them earn it.
Okay.
And always making them responsible for anything that happened in their lives that wasn't good, so that they learn not to blame other people for their problems. And it's worked out very well. One of our sons, the entrepreneur, he does extremely well financially, and people say, how did you get so good with money? And he said, well, when I was growing up, my parents would never give me any, so I had to... Well, I was talking to a very successful television producer, and his father came over here from Italy as an immigrant, penniless, worked very hard, built a publishing empire, became a very wealthy man. So when the guy was ready to go to college, his father said, you go to college, but you have to work to pay your way through. I'm not paying for your college. He was so angry with his father because he knew his father was a multi-millionaire. He wouldn't pay for his college, but he worked very hard. It came time for his graduation. He didn't even want his father to come to his graduation.
Oh, wow.
But his father came, and he gave him a check for the entire amount.
Oh.
And he said, I knew that you would work hard if you had to work for it. So they always grew up in the limelight. There's no question about that. But we regularly had worship together as a family. We would read passages from the Bible and talk about what is the meaning of those things. And I think those kinds of things kept them all very solidly grounded. I think it maybe created some difficulty for, I know my oldest son, when he went off to Yale, some of the young ladies gave him a difficult time because he believed in, marriage and no sex until you're married, and he's a very traditional young man. Today, that makes you a real weirdo. But when you take God out of your life, something else has to replace him. And that something else is never going to be as good. And you see depravity begin to substitute. And even people who are, quote, Christians, are not able to understand that certain things that are happening in our society are not consistent with Christianity.